I was 17, and I had found my intellectual weapons. Our house was loud. Not angry loud, debate loud. Philosophy at the dinner table, theology over breakfast, politics while doing dishes. My mother loved a good argument as much as any of us. Iron sharpens iron, she'd say, quoting Proverbs. I thought we all enjoyed it. Until we didn't. It happened at the kitchen table. This wasn't a debate. I was in trouble for something or being told to do something, although I suppose I was treating it like a debate. That would be the teenage thing to do. My mother made some point about children obeying their parents, and I, armed with my teenage certainty and growing biblical knowledge, fired back. Actually, I said, with all the smugness I could muster, the Greek word used there for children refers to young children, not teenagers. I'm well beyond that age. I was so pleased with myself. I'd been doing research, diving deep into interpretations, because I genuinely loved the knowledge. But I'd also found what I thought was a theological loophole, a way to use sophisticated scholarship to challenge her authority. And I delivered it with a healthy dose of teenage snark. I can still see her face, the flash of something, fury, frustration, maybe just the realization that her daughter had become someone who would use scripture to argue her way out of respect. She threw a glass of milk in my face, just picked it up and threw it. Milk everywhere, dripping down my hair, soaking my shirt, pooling on the kitchen floor. Get out of my house, she said. Silence. This was not our usual kind of argument, and she meant it. I was kicked out. Really kicked out. Now, I know there was a lot more happening in that kitchen than biblical interpretation. We were both emerging, but in opposite seasons. While I was pushing up through the soil of childhood, demanding to be taken seriously as an intellectual equal, she was going through her own massive transformation. Money was tight, interest rates were high, and she was dealing with menopause. Our timing was terrible and perfect and inevitable. Did I push her buttons on purpose? Probably. I was genuinely excited about what I learned, but I also probably enjoyed the attempted power shift of being able to use sophisticated theology to make my point. And I definitely delivered it with attitude. She was trying to figure out complexities that I couldn't begin to understand until much later. The irony wasn't lost on me eventually. That fierce independence I was claiming, that refusal to accept something just because authorities said so, the confidence to speak up when I thought I was right. I'd learned all that from watching her. But in that moment at the kitchen table, with milk dripping from my chin, we were just two stubborn women who couldn't see past our own transformations to recognize what was happening to the other. We were both shedding old skins. The tragedy was that we both loved the debate, loved the sharpening of iron on iron, but we couldn't figure out how to do it without one of us having to win. We made peace, my mother and I, and loved each other very deeply. But we never learned how to argue without drawing blood. We both recognized, I think, that there was a boundary there, one that was too dangerous to cross again. So we kept our intellectual weapons sheathed. The iron-sharpening iron days between the two of us were over. I still think about the milk sometimes, two women, both moving into a new season and colliding in the kitchen, at least in part, because our seasons were out of sync. Sometimes the most loving thing two people can do is recognize when the cost of being right is too high and eventually choose peace over victory. Maybe that was wisdom. Maybe that was a loss. Probably it was both.